The plane lurched once, a soft shudder that rippled through the cabin, and in that fragile instant a man in a faded janitor's uniform lost his job, his dignity, and almost his hope, at 35,000 feet above the earth, with nowhere to run and everything to lose. The termination happened quietly, with a look and a gesture from a powerful woman who believed order could be restored by removing what she considered a problem. But destiny was already awake on that flight, watching from the aisle lights and the trembling hands of a frightened child, ready to turn a moment of cruelty into a reckoning that would echo far beyond the landing gate. Before the story pulls you deeper into that cabin, take a moment now. If you believe kindness still matters, if you believe in second chances and unseen heroes, to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. Your support keeps stories like this alive. Ethan Cole had learned how to be invisible long before he learned how to be brave. Years of scrubbing floors in hospitals, schools, and office buildings taught him the art of keeping his head down, of shrinking himself so others could pass by without noticing. He was a single father, raising a small boy who slept with one hand clenched around the hem of Ethan's shirt, afraid that if he let go, his world might disappear again. The boy's mother had died young, leaving Ethan with grief that never quite loosened its grip and responsibility that never allowed him to fall apart. The janitor job he held was not glamorous, but it paid the rent and kept the lights on. When his supervisor asked him to take a temporary contract cleaning a private jet for a corporate executive, Ethan accepted without hesitation. Extra money meant school shoes, groceries, and the rare promise of something better. The jet was sleek and quiet, the kind of quiet that hummed with wealth. Ethan moved through it carefully, mindful of every surface, every reflection. He worked quickly and respectfully, never touching anything he wasn't supposed to. But the flight was delayed, and while waiting on the tarmac, a call came in from the company's main office requesting that he remain on board to address an unexpected spill after takeoff. Ethan agreed, unaware that the woman who owned the jet, a renowned CEO known for her iron discipline and intolerance for mistakes, was already irritated by the delay and looking for something, or someone, to blame. Mid-flight, the spill turned out to be nothing more than a knocked-over cup of water, but irritation has a way of feeding on itself. The CEO noticed Ethan moving through the aisle and assumed he was a flight attendant out of place. When she learned he was a contracted janitor, her expression hardened. In her world, everything had its proper place, and he was not supposed to be there. Without raising her voice, she summoned the operations manager via satellite phone and terminated his contract on the spot. Ethan stood frozen, the hum of the engines filling his ears, the weight of unemployment pressing down on his chest as the plane continued forward, indifferent to his unraveling life. Ethan's thoughts raced not toward anger but toward fear. Fear of explaining to his son why the pantry would be emptier. Fear of the landlord's knock. Fear of failing the one person who believed he could do no wrong. He finished the remainder of his assigned tasks silently, tears burning behind his eyes, determined not to give the CEO the satisfaction of seeing him break. When turbulence struck, however, something shifted. A sudden drop jolted the cabin, sending a ripple of panic through the passengers. Oxygen masks trembled in their compartments. A child seated near the front began to struggle, her breathing shallow and erratic. Ethan noticed immediately. Years earlier, when his son was born prematurely, Ethan had spent countless nights in a neonatal intensive care unit, watching monitors and learning the subtle signs of respiratory distress. That knowledge never left him. While others froze or clutched armrests, Ethan moved instinctively. He knelt beside the child, assessing her condition, adjusting her posture to open her airway, and signaling discreetly to the flight crew. His actions were calm, precise, and focused solely on the child's safety. The turbulence worsened, but Ethan stayed anchored, a steady presence in the storm. The child's breathing gradually eased as the crew administered oxygen and stabilized her. The cabin exhaled collectively, relief spreading like warmth after a long winter. Ethan retreated back to his place, heart pounding, hands trembling now that the crisis had passed. He did not seek recognition. He did not look toward the CEO. He simply returned to being invisible, believing that the one good thing he could do that day had already been done. After landing, Ethan was escorted off the plane quietly, his temporary badge collected, his future uncertain. He rode the bus home with his head against the window, watching the city blur by. That night, he told his son that things might be hard for a while, but they would be okay. He said it with the conviction of a man who had no evidence to support the claim but needed to believe it anyway. The days that followed were heavy. Rejections piled up. Bills stacked higher. Hope thinned to a thread. Across the city, in a penthouse apartment overlooking steel and glass, the CEO sat beside her daughter's hospital bed. The turbulence had triggered a severe asthma attack, one that could have turned fatal if not addressed immediately. As the child recovered, she clung to her mother's hand and, in a moment of quiet vulnerability, conveyed something that unsettled the woman deeply. She explained that the man her mother had dismissed on the plane had noticed her distress before anyone else, had helped her breathe, had made the fear go away. The words were simple, but their meaning struck like lightning. The CEO, a woman who prided herself on control and foresight, realized she had nearly destroyed the life of the very person who saved her child. Guilt is a powerful teacher. The CEO launched an internal investigation, uncovering Ethan's background, his spotless record, his single-parent status, and the circumstances of his firing. What she found did not align with the careless narrative she had constructed mid-flight. For the first time in years, she questioned her own judgment. She reached out to Ethan with an offer that went far beyond reinstatement. She offered him a position in corporate facilities management, recognizing his attentiveness, his crisis response, and his quiet leadership under pressure. More importantly, she offered a public apology, acknowledging that dignity should never be conditional. Ethan's life did not transform overnight into something effortless, but it did change. The new job provided stability, benefits, and the chance to build a future rather than merely survive. His son saw his father stand a little taller, laugh a little more freely. The memory of the flight remained, not as a wound, but as a reminder that doing the right thing matters even when no one is watching. The CEO changed too, in ways that no quarterly report could capture. She implemented training programs focused on empathy and situational awareness, insisting that every employee, regardless of rank, be treated with respect. She told the story, without names or dramatics, of a day when power nearly blinded her to humanity, and how a janitor reminded her what leadership truly meant. As time passed, the paths of Ethan and the CEO crossed occasionally in conference rooms and company events. There was no awkwardness, only a shared understanding forged in the sky. Ethan never spoke of resentment. The CEO never forgot the lesson. And somewhere between polished boardrooms and modest family dinners, a truth settled quietly into place. That worth is not measured by titles or seats on a plane, but by the courage to care when it counts. If this story has touched your heart, if it reminded you that compassion can change lives in ways we may never fully see, please take a moment now to like this video, share it with others, and subscribe to the channel. Your engagement helps these stories reach those who need them most.